A good evening and a very good evening indeed for Indian cricket fans. The best batsman in the world pairing up with the debutant, both of them hitting half centuries as India rocked home to a 7 wicket victory over England in the second T20 international in Ahmedabad. But before we get into the details and a deep analysis of this remarkable Indian fight back, here's a look at why you should download the How's That app.
क्या आप भी किसी अपने सपने मेरे तुम्हारे टीम 11 पे टीम बना रहे हो और बच्चों के साथ खेल रहे हो? हमारे साथ खेलोगे? हाउस ऐप पे खेलो लेजेंड्स के साथ, हमें हराओ और जीतो डबल कैश. Log on to houseapp.com and win real cash.
Right, a heavy defeat for India in the first game of this five-match T20I series on Friday, but they came back only the way this Indian team can do. And with me is Boria Mojumdar. And Boria, by the way, he had been telling me on WhatsApp, listen, Rajesh, don't worry, you know this Indian team, they'll fight back. And they did. And how? Boria, thrilled to bits. I can see the smile on your face. What a way to wrap up this weekend, huh?
You asked me that it will be a better Sunday or not. And I said, yes, it will be. Because it's becoming a pattern, isn't it? I mean, every series, first game, whether it is the Australia white ball series, Australia red ball, England red ball, and now this one, every time first game, they will sort of do something and we're like, arey, what's happened? And then they will turn it around and start winning again. And from how important is the toss here? How important is the toss at this Narendra Modi Stadium? That's question number one. But look at what young India can do. Yes, Shikhar Dhawan was slightly under the cosh, under the pump in the first game. But look at the way Ishan Kishan was off the blocks. KL Rahul looks circumspect, and that is why he got out. I mean, play the ball, hit the ball. That is what KL Rahul's T20 game is. Here, he was suddenly sort of looking that, I don't want to get out. I don't want to get out. There was that element of fear, and that element of fear was not there in Ishan Kishan. And that's why Virat Kohli could get himself in.
Right. I think there's a small, I think Buri will be back with us shortly. But what he was talking about was Ishan Kishan's impact, the young opener. He's obviously done remarkably well for Mumbai Indians in the Indian Premier League, hasn't he? And he in fact became only the second Indian after Ajinkya Rahane to score 50 on T20I debut, while Virat Kohli at the other end leading from the front as always. He got out for a duck in the first game, bounced back, and he was unbeaten on 73, where he's now become the first cricketer ever to score 3,000 T20 international runs. Of course, Rohit Sharma is closing in on that landmark too, and sure we'll see him sometime during this series. But Boria will join us back shortly, and then he is. Boria was talking about the impact Ishan Kishan has had on this game, and Boria, it was just remarkable to see, right? He just took to international cricket to talk to water, you were saying.
Absolutely, and that allowed Virat to play the knock that Virat did. So it allowed Virat to get into that comfort zone, take the game, obviously deep, and take charge, finish the run chase, close it out, be not out. Most importantly, very, very necessary game time for the Indian captain out there. This knock, the time he has spent out there, will do his confidence a world of good. Terrific to see. And Ishan Kishan set it up. At no point was that run rate a problem. And that is because of Ishan Kishan. With a good bowling attack, Jofra and the rest of the bowlers. The way Ishan Kishan went about attacking, he attacked everyone. Adil Rashid double sixes. He attacked Jofra Archer. He attacked Jordan. He attacked Ben Stokes. He attacked Tom Curran. He attacked everybody. And that was refreshing to see.
Absolutely. No, Boria, you're so right about the conditions as well. In fact, before I get to you on the pitch, on the difference between the first game and the second game, Virat did say that the Indians they weren't very sure of what to do in those conditions. First match, first T20I, in fact, at that venue. But Ishan Kishan, like you said, he took on Tom Curran, he took on Chris Jordan, Tom Curran, Ben Stokes, Adil Rashid. That guy is just also a testament to the Mumbai Indians team, right? I know we're talking about the Indian team. If you look at this side, Rohit Sharma obviously not playing. He will come back to this 11 sometime during the series. Jasprit Bumrah, once he comes back from his personal engagement, it's like 4 or 5 solid players who can make that impact. Hardik Pandya has been doing that for the last couple of years now. It's also a testament to the Mumbai Indians team. And there were a lot of tweets on social media. You could see that. But it's a testament to the Mumbai Indians team. Why not? That is what the IPL was always meant to do, Boria.
And Michael Vaughan has said the same, that in a very cheeky way, that, I said Mumbai Indians, the BCCI seems to have taken that suggestion very strongly. But the other way around, if you want to look at it, is also this fellow plays for which state, and he does what? So he's a Jharkhandi. He plays for Jharkhand rather, and he's a wicketkeeper batsman. There was somebody else, a wicketkeeper batsman from Jharkhand, who took world cricket by storm. So Ishan Kishan, you've got a big legacy to follow, but what a debut. In that sort of Satyajit Ray style, anyone above 20, between the ages of 21 and 24, left hand batsman is suspicious for other teams, be it Ishan Kishan, be it Rishabh Pant.
And it was like this Indian team threw us through the sink at the England team. And how refreshing was that to see, Boria? Because we've talked about that. You said that on Sports Today as well before the series started, that it's going to be a very different Indian team as far as the T20 format is concerned, because they're going to come hard, they're going to be relentless. Yes, that did not quite pay off in the first game. Also, maybe they went out all guns blazing a little too early, but here you could see that after that first wicket, KL Rahul going out for a duck, Virat and Ishan, both very explosive batsmen, took their time, but their approach is paying off, and it is refreshing to see that despite the defeat, this Indian team is not going to take a step back.
No, 20 for 3 in the first game. I mean, you can't do much, when you are 20 for 3 and then the fourth wicket also fell around 40-ish. You can't do much after that. I mean, however much Hardik and Shreyas tried, it was always going to be an uphill task. Today, even when Rishabh came in, the asking rate was 7. He didn't wait. He got 26 of 13. He was tonking the ball. Did you see the way that fellow was hitting the ball? That 6 over mid-wicket, that, through cover, that bullet kind of, look at the power that chap was generating. Even when he got out, he was disgusted. But before that, he was scoring at 200. His strike rate was 200, Rishabh Pant. So by the time Rishabh got out, it was what? Asking rate of 5. So that's the whole point, that you are relentless. 165 against a good bowling attack is not a bad score. India got it in 17 point something. So you still had 2.5 overs. So you could have easily chased down 200. That is the change in approach. That's the relentlessness that we talk about, the ruthlessness that we talk about in this team. It was terrific today. Terrific today.
No, absolutely. They gunned it down. They really smoked them, didn't they? But also, before we move to Virat and the bowlers, obviously the bowlers played a very critical part. If you look at the last 4 or 5 overs of the England innings, and the way they restricted them to 160 odd was on a pitch which Boria said was, it wasn't all that. There was nothing wrong with the surface, Boria. It was absolutely, but it's also a reflection of the IPL, isn't it? Because they play the best bowlers in the tournament throughout for year after year, and you're taking on who? Chris Jordan, Tom Curran, Ben Stokes, Adil Rashid, some of the best T20 cricketers in the world, and that IPL mindset, having played with that setup, is just paying off paying off for India with a flurry of these young cricketers.
All of them play the IPL. Stokes and Archer play for Rajasthan. Jordan plays for Kings 11, except Rashid. Everybody. Tom Curran played for Rajasthan. So everybody. So they are exposed to these bowlers day in, day out during the IPL. They were confident against these bowlers and they attacked. And that is what was interesting. I mean, Ishan Kishan on debut, the way he was going after every bowler, he had no inhibitions whatsoever. No, sir, he wasn't circumspect. He was decisive in his shot making. He was ruthless in his shot making. And that's what the IPL has done. You're absolutely correct. I mean, the kind of relentless sort of pressure the Indians were applying on the English, at no point did they allow the bowlers to settle. Exactly what England had done in game 1. Fantastic comeback. 165 was not an easy score, but they made it look very easy. At no point except that first over were the English able to exert any kind of pressure. You can say that Joss Butler drop of Virat Kohli was important, and maybe that stumping was 50-50, but that stumping, by the time that stumping happened, the game was over. Whoever would have come would have finished it off in a couple of overs.
Absolutely. And also what on Virat Kohli, because he obviously got out for a duck in the first game, or duck in the last innings of the Test series. Also, since I need to ask this question to you, Boria, since you know Virat so well, what did you make of his body language when India were in the field? He did seem a little frustrated with a couple of those, some effort on the field. He looked a little animated. He is always an animated character, but he did look a little angry. But that when he came on to bat, he was completely unfazed, right? He was smiling, enjoying himself with young Ishan Kishan. And then he unleashed the beast mode in him to finish with 73 not out, and also the first cricketer to get to 3,000 T20 international rounds.
He will score a lot more and will break every record, that we know. But what was important to see is how he was captain Virat Kohli even when batting. He was sort of encouraging Ishan Kishan every second. The moment Rishabh Pant hit that six, he went and hugged Rishabh Pant and encouraged Rishabh Pant. So he was mentoring both of these youngsters who are the future of India. So he was doing that and doing that to perfection. He knew as long as he was there, he will finish the chase. That has been the beauty of Virat Kohli. And on the field, while India made quite a few errors, whether it is fielding errors, some could have been like Yuzvendra Chahal could have gone for that catch. There was a fluff by Surya at the boundary line. Maybe he misjudged it a tad. But the way Virat was fielding, did you remember that when he flung himself and in one action he threw the ball and the whole team got charged up as a result? So it is very Virat Kohli. And this innings, it's a match-winning innings. He has done several of these in the past, but it will obviously, because he was going through a bit of a lean patch, will give him a lot of confidence and a lot of joy.
No, absolutely. But also, this Ishan Kishan innings, Boria, does this complicate things for Shikhar Dhawan a little bit? Because at the start of the series, Virat Kohli said Rohit and KL were the first choice openers, Dhawan the third option. But now with Ishan Kishan getting runs, obviously, the reason they rested Rohit the first couple of games was because they wanted to try Shikhar and Ishan in these games. What do you make of Shikhar Dhawan's chances now with Ishan Kishan going great guns?
That's a very, very good question. Very good question. And that's why they have gone with this squad, because they wanted to test Ishan. They wanted to test Surya. Surya didn't get an opportunity to bat today, but he will. If India wins the next one, don't feel surprised if you see Surya coming in at 4 ahead of Pant, or maybe ahead of Iyer, because they will want Surya to get batting time out in the middle to figure him out. So, and these guys are top hitters. I mean, look at the way Ishan Kishan was tonking the ball. Surya Kumar Yadav does the same. Everybody can score at 130, 140, which is so important in T20 cricket. So that is the Indian strategy. So to answer your question, gets tough for Shikhar Dhawan. Rohit Sharma will come back. Rohit and KL will obviously open, and KL will get back into form. I mean, KL is much too good, much too good to sort of miss out multiple times. KL will come good. And obviously, Ishan Kishan has staked a claim. Can he do it consistently is what we've got to wait and see. But from what we have seen today, the evidence at hand, he's a super talent.
Right. Of course, Surya Kumar Yadav, we'd hope sometime during the series he gets his chance as well, because he was slotted in number 6 just ahead of Hardik Pandya tonight. But Boria, now speaking of conditions, obviously, you and I, we were discussing the pitch, the fact that it was a bit of an unknown for both teams, and England got first use of the pitch in the sense that they bowled first. So the toss becomes important in that context. But this wicket, did you reckon it was a little better than what we saw on Friday? And what was so different between the two pitches? There was a 120-run game, and you come straight to 160-odd with such brutal hitting from the Indians.
I think both teams have figured out the wicket a little better. They played decent. I mean, shot making was possible. In the first game, if you see some of the balls jumped, for example, Virat played it here. A couple of balls of really kicked up from there. So it was difficult wicket to bat on. Shreyas Iyer said it was too paced. Today, England sort of looked relatively okay. For example, when Jason Roy and David Malan was batting, went through the line against the spinner, could play some of those shots. It was a good batting deck. I mean, 165 was chased down. So you've got to say the wicket is good, because 300 runs, 330 odd runs scored in 37 overs at an average of 8.5, 9 and over on a wicket. So you've got to say it was a very, very good deck. The fact that the toss is important, we know that there is a possibility of Dew making batting easier. So it is important. I mean, one needs to wait and see, because ultimately tosses cannot win you cricket matches. Potential and ability will. Will India now turn the leaf, and will they sort of put pressure on England, despite England being the world's number 1 side? This Indian team we have seen in Australia, we have seen in the England Test series. Once they get on song and they have momentum, they can do anything. So yes, England can be the number 1 team, but once these chaps have momentum, they are as good as anyone. And India is improving as a T20 side because of the IPL. We've beaten Australia, and Australia, remember. So that's why I keep saying one defeat doesn't make anything for this side. So give them a little bit of time. I think from here on, India has every reason to believe they can win the series.
Absolutely. In fact, Boria, it's also important we talk about the bowlers, right? Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Washington Sundar, Shardul Thakur, just about 7 runs and over on this pitch. Like you said, it was a good batting deck, good pitch for T20 cricket. But India, even in this lineup, we look at Hardik Pandya and Yuzvendra Chahal alongside, did not have two or three of their main bowling options. Just with Bumrah, Ravindra Jadeja, Shami will be back. So it was that much better to that the victory is that much sweeter. And for Hardik Pandya to bowl his full complement of 4 overs, that must have been a pleasant sight too.
That for me is very, very important. I mean, not only important from the T20 standpoint, he was generating 135, 36, 37. So that's good enough pace. He looked good. He was sort of running in. He bowled his four. At no point did he look uncomfortable. The Hardik bowling is definitely something that India will take a lot of heart from. It gives them the balance. Look, they played that extra batter because Hardik could bowl four. That is why you could leave Akshar Patel out. You had Washi, you had Hardik, and you had Chahal, you had Shardul, you had Bhuvi. Each of them could complete their four. So the Hardik option is very, very important from India, from an Indian standpoint in Test cricket and in white ball. So Hardik is welcome news. Having said that, there are some questions asking when Rohit comes back, who do they drop? That's a very, very important question. You can't drop KL. Yes, KL has not looked KL in the last two games, but then it happens to the best. It has happened to Virat. KL is much too good at the top of the order. He's looked a little, how do I put it, sort of, uh, I will not get out kind of mindset rather than I'll go and tonk the ball kind of mindset. So one would just want him to make that little mental adjustment and not feel insecure about getting out. And if he does that, he'll be back on song.
Right. In fact, Boria just Meet the Vermas, in fact, was just asked that question on whether when Rohit comes back for the next game, is KL Rahul going to be dropped? So Boria already answered that. I hope that answers your question, Meet the Vermas. But Boria, this Indian team now it's got its tails up again, and like you said, they lose when they lose the opening game, they lose big. But when they come back roaring like tigers. But what next for this English team? Because just a couple of days back, they seem to get everything right, bowling brilliantly. Jason Roy among the runs again tonight. But a few areas for concern, right? Mark Wood didn't quite pull up very well after bowling in that first game. Jofra Archer was expressed, but the others, that would be cause for concern for Owen Morgan. If Mark Wood, they'd hope for him to recover by Tuesday. But the way Ishan Kishan and Rishabh Pant, those sledgehammer shots, and Virat Kohli, obviously the anchor. So there are now concerns for England, you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, if you see, Chris Jordan, Tom Curran, and Adil Rashid had no impact. So you are actually banking on Jofra and you are banking on Mark Wood. So unless you have your express bowlers, the rest of the attack, all of a sudden, after that first game, is starting to look pretty ordinary. Chris Jordan will go for runs. However much you say no, he will. Adil Rashid, India will work him out. And Tom Curran, they just launched into Tom Curran from ball one. So all of a sudden, and Ben Stokes will go for runs. Ben Stokes isn't express. He might get that odd wicket, but at no point in time will India be very circumspect against Ben Stokes. So you need Archer, you need Wood. If you don't, then there is enough in that bowling attack for India to exploit. So that's why I'm saying India all of a sudden has tasted blood and got momentum. The good side, the good thing about this team is once they are on song, look, India is also bowling with, let's put it this way, with half their bowling attack. No Jasim Bumrah, no Mohammad Shami. So India is also sort of two of their main bowlers down. Having said that, Bhuvaneshwar Kumar was spectacular. Shardul Thakur made the most of the opportunity. Look at that last over. Bhuvi's last over. Washington Sundar picked up a couple of wickets. Yeah, Yuzvendra Chahal kept at it. I mean, got that crucial breakthrough there. So India, again, I mean, the intensity was much better. They were relentless. They pushed the pedal, which is very, very important from this standpoint. I'm saying this. I mean, I think yes, England is a very good T20 unit, but on home soil, now that they have momentum, there is reason to believe India might just win this one.
Absolutely. And in fact, also, looking ahead to the T20 World Cup, Boria, because this series is important from that perspective as well. Obviously, being played between the two top teams in this format, the number one ranking up for grabs. Also, the fact that they are, nicely settling into that rhythm, right? You have Ishan Kishan now challenging Shikhar Dhawan as the third opener. You have the likes of Shardul Thakur, who's pressing regularly for a more regular place, even with Bumrah and Shami back. So this is now beginning to fall in place, you'd say, because India have been winning consistently in this format. So now this is a unit that you think is falling into place.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think this is the only 5-match T20 series they will get ahead of the World Cup. After this is IPL, then they go to the United Kingdom for the World Test Championship, and then they stay on. They will play the Test series there. So once they return, which will be September, you're a month away from the World Cup. So whatever they need to do this series, because they need to get their core in place. They need to get their vision in place, because this is the last sort of real experimentation opportunity that these people have. That is why they should test out Kishan, they should test out Surya, they should test out every possible player, because they need, unlike the World Cup, you cannot mess around with key batting positions, and they know that. That is why I think Rishabh Pant is settling beautifully at number 4. He is your 4. Maybe Iyer at 5, Surya 6, Hardik 7, or maybe Hardik 6. Or, that number 5 can be a floating option. But think about it. Hardik and Surya and Rishabh, man oh man. I mean, these 3 to finish off an innings at some firepower there.
And you throw Jadeja in the mix as well, because from what you're saying, if India go in with 5 bowlers, including Jadeja and Hardik, that is going to be some serious batting lineup.
And look at the fielding.
Yep.
Surya Kumar Yadav will get better. Ravindra Jadeja, Hardik Pandya. Look at that for Ishan Kishan. Look at the fielding side. I mean, they will throw themselves. They will save runs. They will convert runouts. They will take all their catches and spectacular ones. This is looking good for India. Good for India. Jasprit Bumrah will come back. Maybe Mohammad Shami will. So you have your backups. You have your options in place. It's looking good.
Like Boria, like they say in Hindi, aapke muh mein ghee shakkar, because you had promised us a 3-1 series fight back in the tests, and now hopefully, from what you're saying, India will go on and take.
See, I think this is a 3-2 series. I think this is a 3-2 series. I think this is a 3-2 series for either team. Whoever wins will be a 3-2 series. I think India 3-2, because India now have momentum. It will depend on the toss, because there is an element where the team batting second is getting a bit of advantage, maybe because of the dew, maybe because of the chase, maybe because of the nature of the wicket. So all of these things taken together, I'll still go with India. I will say 3-2 India from here on.
Super. That will be something worth watching, because this series victory will mean a lot, right? Because the T20 World Cup is settling in nicely, the side settling in nicely, and you've had a couple of youngsters, and Boria has spoken about them at length. He's obviously interviewed Surya Kumar Yadav shortly after he was named in the Indian side. So you can watch that interview on Sports Today as well. But we'll be back with more tomorrow, and of course on Tuesday. Boria's 5 at 5. That's a daily show that you just cannot miss, with his breaking news analysis, opinions. And I'll be back in the morning at 10 with some stats and numbers from the game. There will be quite a few around Virat Kohli and Ishan Kishan. But thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Boria, for your superb, clear views as always. And please do subscribe to Sports Today. Do download the House app and keep supporting us in our endeavor to cover sports. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.